Stephen Bedard here, and you may or may not be aware that Jehovah's Witnesses believe that Jesus Christ is actually not God incarnate, but the Archangel Michael. Now, you might wonder, where would they get that kind of idea? And to be honest, Jehovah's Witnesses are not the only ones. There are other groups that have made that connection between Jesus and Michael. And really, Michael is an intriguing figure in the Bible. That there's a little bit of information given about him in the Old and New Testaments, but not a lot. It's obvious that he's very important, but we don't know much about him. So you can see the attraction to try to make Michael to be the celestial identity of Jesus. But they actually do have a Bible passage, and I'll share it with you. This is from 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 16, and it's referring to the return of Jesus and the day of resurrection. This is what it says. For the Lord himself, and the Lord here is Jesus, the Lord himself, with a cry of command, and with the archangel's call, and with the sound of God's trumpet, will descend from heaven, and the dead in Christ will rise first. And so what they see there is that when the Lord comes, he comes with the archangel's call, and some translations say that with the voice of the archangel. And they reason, well, how could Jesus have the voice of the archangel unless he actually was the archangel? Now, it doesn't mention Michael here, but they reason that Michael is the only archangel, which, according to Jewish tradition, is not correct. They had a number of angels that they included as archangels. That would include Gabriel, and there was a few others as well that we're not going to go into right now, but it's worth looking into if you're interested. So they do. Jewish tradition has a number of archangels. The Bible never specifies that only Michael is the archangel. However, he's the only one in the Bible who's explicitly referred to as an archangel. So the assumption here is that Jesus is returning, and his voice is the voice of the archangel, and that is Michael. So therefore, Jesus is Michael. Well, there's all kinds of problems with that. First of all, this verse isn't that convincing. It doesn't really seem to be saying what they're saying. But let's just take a moment and just reflect upon the possibility that Jesus could be an angel in general, or Michael in particular. One of the problems is the book of Hebrews, especially the first chapter. One of the main themes in that chapter is stating how Jesus is so much superior to the angels. That's one of the main themes that the author of Hebrews is getting across in that chapter, that Jesus is far beyond that of the angels. And so it seems to be explicit that Jesus could not be an angel. And this is where Jehovah's Witnesses, I think, get pretty clever. They're wrong, but they're clever. What they say is that Jesus is not an angel. He is an archangel. An archangel simply means the one who is in charge of the angels. And so they would see Michael and Jesus, by extension, as being this created celestial being that is in charge of all the other angels, but is not an angel himself. Clever, I think they should get points for creativity there, but that's not really a great way to look at this. For example, that prefix arch is used in other contexts as well. So, for example, the high priest. In Greek, the arch is used as a reference to the high priest. So we have to ask, is the high priest also a priest? Or is the high priest just a person, a human leader who happens to be in charge of the other priests? Well, we know that the high priest was also a priest. They were the priest that was in charge of the rest of the priests. And that's the way archangel is used as well, as an angel who is in charge of the other angels. In reference to Michael, to try to see him as a unique figure, in the book of Daniel, it actually specifies, this is one of the few passages that refers to Michael by name, and describes him as one of the chief princes of God, chief princes of heaven. And so he is put in a category with other beings. We're not sure who that is. It's probably Gabriel and others. But the point is that Daniel does not describe Michael as a unique created being, unlike anything else that's there. He is one like others. So it is not really a good way to look at Michael, to see him as this unique thing. So how do we respond to this? What is actually Paul saying in 1 Thessalonians 4? Well, when he's referring to the voice of the archangel, and we also see that there is the trumpet call that's happening here, the image that's supposed to come to mind is that of a royal dignitary who is coming to see his people, as we would expect, a prince or a king or something like that. Some member of royalty comes to visit a town or something like that. We would not expect that person to just walk in by themselves. Here I am, nice to meet you. That's not the way it would be. There would be a lot of ceremony that would happen. There would be the blowing of trumpets. There would be an announcement. So if you imagine, say, the Queen of England, if the Queen of England came to visit my church, she wouldn't just step in and slip into a pew. Someone would announce, ladies and gentlemen, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of England. There's be some kind of announcement that's going on there. That seems to be what's happening in 1 Thessalonians 4, that when Jesus returns, his return is announced by the archangel, probably Michael, but it doesn't specify. So the idea that Jesus is Michael is pretty weak, and yet we need to have this background in order to be able to respond when people make these kinds of suggestions, because as I said, Jehovah's Witnesses are not the only one who do that. I hope that's been helpful, and I appreciate you watching this video. Make sure to subscribe and to visit me at my website, stephenjbedard.com. Thank you, and God bless.